Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about my involvement, Trimble's involvement in this project, and where we are at the moment. So first of all, I'm not as known as Peter is, so I'll tell a few words about myself. So nerd by design, that's kind of how I market myself. I'm a programmer by heart. I started a company called Tekla back in '91 as a programmer. I'm still there, though we were acquired by a US company some 6.5 years ago called Trimble. But we still have a product called Tekla Structures, so Tekla lives on. And kind of my involvement, I usually get involved in technologies and things at an early stage. So one good example is as a student project back in '91, '92, we worked on a web browser as a student project. There were about 5 web servers out there when we started, most of them in CERN. Tim Berners-Lee was the guy leading that effort, and he visited Helsinki or Espoo a couple of times. And when we finished, did a demo in '92, there were like 50 web servers available. A year later, NCSA Mosaic came out, and the rest is history. But one of the things back in those days, so I already had a job when I was doing this, so there was no startup thingy for me then. And there was really no startup scene in Finland as well. There were a few startups, but nothing compared to what we have today. So like personally, I think what Peter and friends are striving for, building even a better ecosystem for startups here in the finest Bay Area, that's something that I look forward to, and something that I would like to leave to my kids, who are actually, one of them is doing web development at Trimble now, and the other got his first student project or summer job working with virtual reality. So they're very much into the field. And Trimble, what is Trimble doing? So our role, transforming the way the world works. So we have 5 big business areas, roughly 500 million euros or dollars each. And actually, 3 of them are very close to projects like this. So geospatial, when you start your project, you do measurements, laser scanning, and so on. Then heavy civil construction, so that's where the tunnel project fits in, roads, railways, and so on. And then, of course, building and construction, which we represent here in Finland through Tekla. And Trimble is, let's say, a mid-sized US company. So we have founded around '78 when the first GPS satellites were launched. Anyway, so how did we get involved in this? Peter mentioned the story. About 1.5 years ago, he was in Estonia and had this discussion about, well, let's do a tunnel. And actually after that, he came to an AEC hackathon. Everybody know what AEC is? I hope at least the students in the room. It's architecture, engineering, construction. And we had a hackathon, and Peter was invited as a speaker there. I was wondering, that was still when he was with Rovian, with Angry Birds. So I was like, okay, what is he doing there? And he gave his speech, and I said, well, I want to get involved in this. I want Trimble to be involved in this. Can I bring a shovel? Peter said, well, if that's the most efficient way to do it, well, bring a shovel. I said, well, if you involve the Chinese, then, well, maybe. I said, yeah, well, that's exactly the plan. So we started discussing, and he wanted to check out the HoloLens, which was a cool piece of technology that Trimble had been working on for some time. So we invited him to Trimble. We forgot about the HoloLens. We started talking about the Otakale development, the tunnel project. And then Microsoft, roughly at the same time, in summer of 2016, approached Trimble if we could do a cool demo for the HoloLens. And they couldn't do it themselves yet because the HoloLens wasn't on sale in Finland, but they could sponsor a partner. And of course I said no, because we don't do projects, we do products. But then it hit me that, hey, wait a minute, what if we would use this to visualize like a first vision of what this area, what the Otakale area could be like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, if we would bring in tens of thousands of people there and create an ecosystem for startups and so on, students and companies. So I said, well, we have this project. It's kind of in the Microsoft backyard. It's in Keilaniemi. So what if we would do this demo as a HoloLens exclusive and show it at Slush? They wanted it for 2017. We said, well, let's do it a bit quicker, like everything in this project. So I said, yeah, sure. So we started that project in August, and then the setup was quite interesting. So Microsoft paid for this. Then we had a small startup called Deeptail. Mika Peltola back there, CEO of that, and actually my childhood friend. The circles are very small in this area. We got together, so Deeptail did the project management. They were kind of the main contractor for Microsoft, and Trimble did the programming. So we were subcontracting to a startup. So this was already kind of a really interesting story that you had this mega company paying to a startup who then subcontracted a mid-sized company. And all of this happening in the Otakela area already. And then we involved, so then we had the architectural models from Fira, from Tero Vanhanen. We'll be showing some more better stuff after my presentation around this. So we took his models, put them on the HoloLens, and then we did a couple of days of demos at Slush, and it was, I think, a big hit. We were thinking of demoing 3 persons at a time. I think the best demos were for 6 persons, looking at an empty table, and everybody was awed. Okay, it would be really cool if we could do this. And then, well, actually won the prize for Future of Storytelling a year later. So Mika and friends were up in New York and picked up the prize for the best AR VR story in the corporate sector. So
Mika is over there.
Yeah, I already presented him. So then, next step. So after Slush, what should we do then? Well, Peter already mentioned that. Well, we went after the kids, because they are the ones that actually will be living in this area someday. And so there's a school called Arki for architecture, and they teach architecture starting with young children, 4 to 5-year-olds, and all the way to teenagers. So we got them involved in this. So part of this project is this artificial island, and we said, well, you have 1 square kilometer to work with. Go wild. And then they used Trimble SketchUp, which is a quick tool for creating like the early stages of a project. And there were hundreds of kids involved in this for a couple of months. And then they put all of their creations together into this fantasy island, all the services they wanted there. There is some McDonald's there somewhere. And then we actually offered the kids, so we did a couple of workshops together with Fira and with Peter, with the kids. And they then got to try out their models in mixed reality. So they got to try out the next generation of tools in an early phase. And we got some pretty good visibility in the media, so I'll just click on the link here to. Unfortunately, the video is not available anymore. I'll look it up later. Let's see. But so here, Yle did a story about this, I think sometimes about half a year ago. And, well, actually it was in April. So here's one of the younger kids looking at his creation through the HoloLens. He can become an expert user in like 30 seconds. And yeah, here's a screenshot from the demo looking through the HoloLens that we showed at Slush. Anyway, so what's the next step? How is Trimble continuing here? So first of all, we decided to offer our collaboration platform for the BIM and civil industry, Trimble Connect, to the tunnel project. So for this project, for the planning phase, it's free to use for the consortium members. Of course, they are not forced to use it, but it's a good tool. And then we also, because this is a huge project, and traditional BIM technologies might not be suitable if you go this scale. So we have created a new, what we call a TrimBIM technology, that is in its piloting phase at this point, and it's actually been developed in Finland as well. So these tools will be available to the consortium going forward to share the information. It's all web-based technology, cloud-based. So that's our contribution at this point. And of course, a lot of A-insinöörit and Pöyry and so on are our customers already, so they are using our tooling. And yeah, I think that was my short introduction. And then I'll give the floor to Stella.